I'm Paul Vince Quike, your Taekwondo guide, and this is Topic Tuesday. Welcome. If you're new around here, the concept is simple. People leave me questions and topics all about Taekwondo, and we discuss. It's just me. It's just me talking to a camera. You guys know the drill, so I always recommend that you get some stuff done while you listen to Topic Tuesday. Pop your headphones in and change the oil on your recreational summer vehicles, your jet skis, your ATVs, your speedboats. Seasonal oil changes are a must to keep your vehicles in tip-top condition. So, listen to me while you get your chores done. Let's jump into our topic. The first one we have here is a response to a poll that I posted about whether or not people regretted quitting Taekwondo as a child, if that's something that they did. And 77% of people say they regret quitting Taekwondo when they were younger. A lot of them have come back to it now, and they wish they had stayed with it throughout their lives. Very interesting to me that it's that high. The question was phrased in a way where it said, was quitting the right move for you at the time? And most people said quitting was not the right move for them at the time. You know what's interesting too? 23% is awfully close to 25%, and if you don't know this, it's a fact. It's a simple fact. 25% of people, approximately, will always pick the wrong answer on a poll. So just kind of interesting. All right, from Daryl, 2023. Daryl writes, firstly, congrats on the little sidekick on the way. Time to order a uniform. Secondly, to this week's Topic Tuesday, I've always enjoyed watching Aikido sword training. Relatives have done fencing, but not myself. Speaking of which, to put it out there, it's important to wear protective gear when needed, as I heard a crazy story from their side when using weapons. On the notion of armor and warriors, Taekwondo related, have you heard much of the Korean Hwarang warriors? Hwarang. Is there many schools of Hwarang Do around? Do their students ever cross over to Taekwondo open tournaments? Seems the art never made it to the movies or popularity. Again, it's enjoyable to watch, or what an opportunity to learn if it was available. Yeah, I did fencing for a while. The instructor that was teaching me did not emphasize the importance of the glove. And there's nothing sharp on the foil that you use. But I collided with my partner in such a way that the guard shoved into my hand. And you can maybe see this scar above my thumb. It severed my tendons, and so I had to have a procedure done on my hand to correct this thumb. The doctor did an excellent job. It works great now. But yes, protective gear is very important when you're doing weapon sparring. Hwarang Do. I don't know very much about it. I remember a really old issue of Black Belt magazine where one of its practitioners was on the cover, and I read that. But my impression of it is that it's sort of like a HEMA approach to things, and that might not even be quite accurate. It's a reconstruction of what some people think the Hwarang warriors would have been practicing back in the day. Now, I've heard a lot of different things about the Hwarang. I don't consider myself, again, any kind of expert in this area, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I've heard before that the Hwarang weren't really warriors much to begin with, that sort of got pinned onto them later to make a equivalent to the samurai, that the Hwarang were more so educated poet types. Again, I'm not exactly sure the reality of that. There is a book, I might say the name wrong, it's called Muye Do Tobo Tongi, something along those lines, and it has It's like an old military manual for Korean martial arts. It's mostly weapons related. It's possible that people took that book and sort of reconstructed some of the movements, as do HEMA practitioners with European martial arts, and put it into a system which is now called Hwarang Do. But I've never had the opportunity to practice it. I've never seen it in person. Yeah, can't speak to that too much, Daryl. I'm sorry. I've never seen it in competition. How about you guys? Anybody out there ever try Hwarang Do? Ever seen Hwarang Do? Ever look into the history of Hwarang Do? Just curious what your thoughts are. From Lyndon King 2476, I had a thought about matchstick moments versus fireplace periods. Matchstick moments light up for a moment, then leave shortly after. You might spend the rest of your life trying to capture that initial flame, but it's gone, and it's never coming back. Fireplace periods start the same way, but because you gathered the kindling and the logs beforehand, that flame lasts longer. How do you, as an instructor, provide an atmosphere for more fireplace periods versus matchstick moments in Taekwondo? What a fantastic question. This is something that I think about a lot because I don't think that I have become a peak performer in this area yet, and I'd like to. But this is what I've gathered so far. First of all, it's important to structure your curriculum in a way that you're taking your students through what feels like a journey. So they're regularly checking off certain achievements and experiencing momentum. If you've ever listened to Dave Ramsey's financial advice, he's got this concept called the debt snowball. It's very interesting. So when he's helping people try to get out of debt, he actually doesn't advise them to attack the debt that has the highest interest rate. In other words, the debt that mathematically maybe makes the most sense to go after first. He has them attack the debt in order of smallest to largest. But what that does is it creates a sense of momentum. And because he studied the psychology behind getting out of debt and the mathematical side, he's deemed that this psychological effect of maintaining momentum, experiencing momentum, is of such great importance that it actually surpasses the qualities that you would get with going after maybe the debt that has the largest interest rate first. So that's really interesting to me, and I think it's an important element in providing a martial arts experience for students, is giving them that sense of growth and sense of momentum as much as possible. One of the things that I have created here at my own dojang is a card that they get with each belt that plays a video sort of guiding them through the phases of their journey. So it's a story that they're participating in as they belt up each time, kind of again giving this idea that they're going on a journey of transformation. And then laying the right expectations is important. I think talking to students about the fact that they're not always going to want to come to class, the fact that at some point they'll contemplate giving up their practice, the fact that we all think about these things sometimes, right? And letting them know that that is normal, letting them know that as instructors, we are there to coach them through those moments. That's important, I think. But I, again, am always trying to improve in this area. So just like with the Hwarang Do question, I'm asking you guys today what some of your strategies are, if you're an instructor, for creating more, what Lyndon King says, more fireplace periods rather than matchstick moments. But that's a really great question and something that I think we should always be continuously developing as instructors. And finally, from Havabav 1342, 100 people versus one guerrilla, who wins? Yes, if you have not seen this meme, if you would call it that, going around the internet right now. There is a question, a debate about who would win, 100 people or one gorilla. I happened to see a fun little thread that was posted on X, formerly Twitter, by someone who says, at least, that they were an expert in gorillas, that they are an expert in gorillas. They're some sort of zoologist, some sort of biologist. I'm not exactly sure what they are, but they claim to be an expert in gorillas. And they said it's a lot easier to take down a gorilla than you would think. First of all, they said gorillas are indeed sensitive to impacts, especially in places like the ribs and organs. Second of all, and I think this was the most important point, they said that gorillas lack endurance. So humans actually have more in the way of endurance than the gorilla. So while the gorilla might start by smashing through a bunch of people, they will not maintain that level of power for very long, and then they would be swarmed by the remaining individuals. So based on his post, I'm going to say 100 people easily wins versus the gorilla. Now, a more interesting question is one Taekwondo master versus one gorilla. Who wins? I think that the kicking techniques of Taekwondo would obviously demolish the gorilla. I know that will upset so many people if they're first-time listeners. No, I'm only kidding. But of course, we're Taekwondo practitioners, so we're going to speak proudly of the art that we practice, right? Oh. Anyway, the topics are short this week, not very many to go over. So you guys know the drill. If you want Topic Tuesday to continue, please participate. Leave me a topic, and I will be happy to go over it for next week's Topic Tuesday. But this week will be short and sweet. Until next time, enjoy your training.